Hello everyone, this is Gioku, and today I just want to go over some gameplay footage from Bungie's gameplay trailer for the new Marathon game. And this is coming from this perspective of someone who's a big fan of the original game. I've been making in-depth videos about the original Marathon series for quite a while, so probably like over the last couple years, and I probably spent close to a year studying the game before I even started that, and I'm halfway through Marathon 2. Just covering everything from lore, Easter eggs, strategy, playing the game on Total Carnage, just showing off and developer quote, just everything you can think of. So I've been really wired into the original Marathon game, and when I was doing that, Bungie announced this this new Marathon game, and well, anyways, I just want to go through the two gameplay trailers that they gave us. They gave me the trailers and some other people early because we kind of, the people that were part of the original playtesting, I was one of the late ones in. Most of the people in that were playtesting, were, extraction shooters, streamers, or big YouTubers or something like that. And they brought in some, new Marathon content creators as well for playtesting early on. I just got in like the last wave, talked to Bungie a little bit and tested the game a little bit. I'll talk about that more. But anyways, Bungie gave us a couple of the gameplay footages, and there's going to be some more in the stream. And this will probably go live sometime when the stream is on, or shortly after. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but anyways. So I just want to go through them just as a perspective of someone who is a big fan of the original Marathon games. I first heard about this game actually a little bit before the original announcement trailer, because there were some leaks that Marathon was making an extraction shooter called this Marathon game. But at the time, I think most of us didn't think it was going to be like some big game, because Marathon's an old game. We didn't really think it was going to be this super huge focus from Bungie. I don't remember why, but for some reason I thought it was going to be like a mobile game or something. I don't remember how I got that in my mind, but I think we knew about, or there was some leaks about this game, in October. I think that in 2022, I think the announcement trailer was like in May or June of 2023, something like that. So when the announcement trailer came out, it was kind of like, whoa, they're doing way more than I originally planned, and I had a lot of mixed feelings about it because, I'm a big fan of the original game. I'm into PvE games, not necessarily PvP. I'm a little older. I played a lot of, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike Go, Unreal Tournament. Not that I was necessarily good at those, but those are kind of my experience. And some Halo, of course, with friends who didn't, right? But anyways, I had some good feelings about the announcement trailer because, Christopher Barrett was an OG Bungie guy. He worked on Myth and all kinds of games that I'm just huge fans of. But most of the current Marathon games I haven't dabbed in much. But anyways, but Bungie took us on to playtest. My experience playtesting, most of it was just, playing on my own because I kind of came and played after work, and I was just playing against the bots mostly. And I figured out how to kind of play against the bots and extract out. But we did have one kind of like Bungie night where we came in and with all the Bungie guys and a bunch of the content creators, who were playtesting the game, and we all kind of played it with them, and we were doing solo runs, and I just pretty much died every time I didn't extract once. I lost like all my gear. And it was kind of fun, but some of it was like I wanted to run a gun, and just from past games, and extraction shooters are way different, and I kind of learned from that experience that extraction shooters need to be approached a lot different than any games you played. I'd recommend going and checking out Riloe and looking at some of his breakdowns of extraction shooters. I talked to him for a while, and he was super helpful. But I think I'm gonna be trying to play some extraction shooters, see if I can get into it, but we'll see how that goes. See, is there anything else I want to talk about? But anyways, Bungie is, you know, they're talking to a lot of content creators. They're trying to get, you know, just kind of use content creators to be kind of like their part of their marketing strategy to get stuff out. And I can kind of tell that. I did give them some input from the playtest. I think some of it's helpful. Like I don't know. I probably wasn't. I was kind of the odd duck because I'm the, you know, was the one in there that wasn't there because, you know, I was really excited about playing this new game, but I was there because I was playing the original game, and so I was kind of, I felt kind of like that one in, but I think I'm gonna try to play this game and enjoy it and see how it goes. But you know, enough babbling. Let's watch this first video. And right away, you can see some symbols showing up. This is actually a code. Someone deciphered it. I'm sure it reads something. Somebody will go in and figure it out. But yeah, look it out. Look out for that. So these are some of the heroes. I think this guy is called. I don't remember. I know this is Glitch. This is Locust. I think this is Blackhawk. But anyways, they all have their own ability and playstyle. I think there was 4 in different characters in the playtest that we had, and they told us we could talk about most of this. I don't know if I want to get into too much details about their abilities or anything, but yeah. The only one that's not there, this is Void. I think, if I remember right. And if you saw right there, it said, it's one of their slogans. Let me back up just a little bit. Escape will make me God. That's from the first Marathon game where Durandal says, escape will make me God. Anyways, it's a big part of the original games, and so that's a big slogan that anybody who plays the original games would know. And so it's cool that they're putting that in there, and I'm sure it's going to be part of the story for the new game.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter set around the mysterious and cutthroat world of Tau Ceti 4.
Now, talking about Tau Ceti, to understand the lore backstory of this game, I think most of it comes from the first Marathon game. Some of it might come from Marathon 2 Durandal and Marathon Infinity, but, you know, in the first Marathon game, the 4 come to the Marathon, which is on Tau Ceti. And the Marathon is basically a ship built into one of the Mars moons. And so, hopefully I'm not saying that right. But anyways, so, I'm used to writing a script and not talking, you know, spur of the moment, but I'm just trying to get this out there. So anyways, and after the first Marathon game, Durandal and the people on board the Marathon take off. You know, they get attacked by the 4 aliens, but then the game, Durandal and them leave off on the 4 ship. And so that's why the second and third game take place on a planet called Low One. So that's why I think most of the stuff you need to understand for backstory lore in this game is from the first Marathon game. And here's Glitch stabbing Void.
You are a runner, a cybernetic mercenary who's given up their human form for a biosynthetic shell with unique abilities and stats.
So one thing I'll say about the cybernetic is in the first Marathon game, usually you just call him the security officer, whatever you want to call the protagonist in the first Marathon game, is you find out kind of in the first Marathon game, if you kind of read between all the lines and put things together in a bunch of terminals, kind of like a puzzle almost, then you can figure out that the main character is actually, you know, Mjolnir Cyborg. And it becomes more clear in Marathon 2 and Marathon 3 that that is in fact the case. But this game kind of builds on that, but I don't think they're quite cybernetic as much as the security officer in Marathon 1, but I don't know, maybe we'll figure that out more as we investigate the lore more.
Capable of both tactical and fast-paced combat. Here you'll fight in a crew of up to 3 players across a variety of zones and points of interest.
So those guys they were fighting just a little bit back. Let's back up just a little bit. You know, I'm trying not to overtalk them. Right here, these are UESC droids basically on the planet, and you know, when I was playtesting, these were mostly the guys that are fighting. They're actually pretty deadly. Like they'll kill you quickly. You can't just. They're not a pushover, is basically what I'm saying. And so you really need to approach, when you come to these areas where you need to come get the materials, you really need to be careful of these guys and kind of clear them out before you go in and just start taking everything. But, you know, my experience is mostly solo. I'm sure the game would be way more funner with, you know, cooperatively with other people. The game is definitely geared for co-op, but yeah. That's just the game. The game is going to be a challenging. There's no pushover, is all I'm trying to say.
Of interest. You'll face rival runners in zones of up to 18 players, countless security forces.
Yeah, so 18 players. I'm not sure how much players is the max on each of the maps. I don't remember what they were in the playtest, but I think that's about how much you'll have in a game session. Like, it's not going to be like Battle Royale, like 100 players. It's probably going to be around 18, depending on the map. I'm sure Bungie, that's not finalized. I'm sure Bungie will figure things out, but yeah.
And otherworldly threats.
These guys, they were calling them ticks when I was talking to them. And one of my input to them was to not call them ticks, because there's actually a creature on low one in the original game called ticks. And so we'll see if they come with something else. But they're kind of like the, what do we call it? The flood. They kind of look like a red flood in the first Marathon game, and or Halo. I'm talking about Halo, obviously. And they'd like come up and want to explode on you. Bungie's had pretty much in so many of the games creatures that come up to you and explode, and they have like little nests where they'll spawn from. But you'll see that more as you play.
To scavenge the remains of a lost colony for glory and fortune.
You can get like keys to unlock doors and get good treasure. A lot of times you get like some of these keys you can find close by to like a chest, but like these doors, you have to get it on like a different map, extract it, take it with you in the next map, not die and go, you know, get the door and then extract, you know, without losing the gear you got. So it's these are pretty hard to get into. So
the environments of Tau Ceti 4 are filled with weapons, materials, and equipment you can scavenge throughout the map.
Yeah, a lot of the quests, you know, were to pick up certain materials. Well, quests, there's like bounties. You fulfill the bounty quests, and some of them have like some story component. Some of them are like main quests with story. Some of them are like side quests, and they just advance you in that faction, whether it's Mada, USC, or Traxxas. But there's also like some upgrades you can get where you got to get like so many materials in order to upgrade your character, which might be something like, you know, you take a little bit less time. I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure some of the other guys remember, and you'll figure about it soon enough.
Before deploying, you'll strategically build your loadout and select a runner to ensure you're equipped for the run ahead. Your objective is simple. Get in, gather as much loot as you can, and make it out alive. Die, and all your gear will be up for grabs. Survive, and your loot can be taken into future runs as you grow in power and fill your vault.
So there you can see right here, you got your gun. You got some like mods for your gun you can get. You got your backpack. You got your inventory right here. This is like a backpack upgrade, so you can carry more stuff. You got a shield. You got some implants and cores that will upgrade you. This is like a grenade slot, so you can get all kinds of stuff.
Death is inevitable, but it's never the end. Think quickly on your feet and outplay your opponents, and in your next run, You and your teammates will be the ones coming out on top.
Yeah, like I said, extraction shooter, more often than not, you're probably going to die and not make it out. That's just the way extraction shooters are. Maybe some players get pretty good and they extract a lot, but I think this is a game where you die a lot, so.
And even if you're down on your luck, factions can sponsor you with a fresh loadout, so you can get right back into the fight.
Basically, the factions, there'd be spots where you can get like the drop ship and stuff, and they'll drop some things in. There might be more to this than what they had in the game. They were adding a lot of stuff, and even the build we were playing, they were telling us that there were things that were already fixed and changed. So I'm sure there's a lot of new stuff. We had a lot of textures that weren't completed when we were testing, and you can tell like pretty much all the textures are finished now, so.
Bungie brings its best-in-class first-person multiplayer action to the forefront. Dynamic and tactile gunplay, runners with unique playstyles, and customizable builds create highly dynamic and strategic team fights. Whether you're on a zero-to-hero run or high-rolling with powerful gear, you'll need to use your best judgment when you decide which fights to pick and how.
Yeah, one thing about all these different like gears and weapons they do is Bungie was really trying to dial in that you felt like you could upgrade your guy and be stronger, you know, but they were trying to make it so that even if you were weak and you didn't have like the super shields and stuff, like you still had a chance to take down those good players, like, you know, like the good players, or not necessarily good players, but players with the gear, you know, could be beat by someone who doesn't have like anything. Like it wasn't just like a automatic win. And they also wanted to make it so that, you know, you could beat a crew 1 versus 3 if you were playing well. So players could run, you know, you'd obviously be at a huge disadvantage, but if you do go solo against squads, you still have a chance to beat them and be able to extract. So they were really trying to work hard and dial in on that balance, and it doesn't sound easy to me, but I think, you know, the amount of effort they're putting in, I really think that, you know, not that even know if I like extraction shooters yet, but I think this will probably be the best extraction shooter out there based on what I've seen. Although the big caveat is I never really played any extraction shooters, but just the amount I can just tell from what this is just the vibe I get, I guess, from seeing what other, you know, these big YouTuber extraction or Twitch streamers are saying, you know, in these meetings and interacting with them and what they're saying. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, so.
Because no matter how geared you are, players with skill and strategy will always have the edge.
You pretty much just said what I said. So I've never did any of these executions like they did, so I'm excited to actually do that in a game and see what that looks like.
Marathon is designed to be played in crews, with contextual pings, shared objectives, and down but not out, to streamline playing with your friends. Death is not the end. And if you're the last one standing, you can overcome the odds to revive your teammates and get out with your hard-earned loot. And if you believe your skills alone are enough to conquer any challenge, we give you the freedom to opt out of crew fill to take all the glory for yourself as a solo runner. No 2 runs in Marathon ever play out the same. With dynamic events, variable weather, and unpredictable players, you'll have to adapt on the fly if you want to survive.
Also, in the environment, expect environmental storytelling. I'm pretty confident they're going to do a lot of environmental storytelling with, I don't know, something in the environment. I'm not exactly... They did a little bit in the playtest. I don't know how much we can talk about. But, you know, most of it, they didn't really, like, do enough for us to really understand what was going on anyways. Oh, yeah, and there's one of the things they call the ticks. But anyways, yeah, just expect that. But anyways, yeah.
Each run has a time limit, and anything can happen while you're chasing your objective. Looking to unlock upgrades or increase your faction reputation? Slip into the shadows as Void and ghost past your enemies.
I played a lot of time with Void. Going invisible was a lot of fun because most of the time I was playing solo, so it kind of worked out good for a solo player. But most of the people were playing Glitch because she was a little bit faster than the other players. So
Search the map for rare materials and profit opportunities without being discovered. Want to push enemy teams and steal their loot? Bring in Glitch with agility implant and your strongest weapons to disrupt rival crews. Running support for your friends? Grab extra equipment, shield charges, and a specialized backpack to be the lifeline they need. You're always free to experiment with team compositions, and the only limit to how you want to play your runner is your loot and imagination. Endgame challenges, ranked play.
we saw that big thing in the sky in playtest, and I don't know if we ever actually figured out what it was, but yeah.
Discovering secrets, seasonal storytelling, community events, and more all await you in Season 1, where you and your friends will start to unravel the mysteries of Tau Ceti 4.
Now, a lot of people talk about the artistic style in this game. Jake the Alright made a whole video about it, it kind of blew up. But anyways, the art style, is they're going for they called it graphic realism. At least that's what Joseph Cross, who's one of the main artists. I don't know if he's the lead artist or whatever. But if you think about the first Marathon game, the graphics is a little bit cartoony at times, but also a little bit realistic at the same time. And I think Bungie with this art style was trying to figure out, how can we make a new Marathon game that somewhat fits the original art style, but also is a brand new thing and completely different, right? And I think that's kind of why they ended up with this art style. I know a lot of people don't love it, but I think the art style looks good. It's just kind of unique and different. I personally like it and think it's good. I can understand at the same time why some people don't like it. It's maybe a little bit of a preference thing. But I do think that, with this kind of art style, it's something that will look good even as, 5 years down the road, as maybe this game becomes a little bit graphically not as great as a brand new game, because it's not going for perfect realism. It kind of has its own unique style. And I think that's kind of why Bungie was doing this, is they're trying to get a game that's going to look good for a long time. So anyways, that's just my take on it.
Remember, you're only ever one run away from your next big score.
That was the exhilarator. I think exfil. I don't remember what they call it. This is where you exit on. So that's the thing. You have to come up to it and activate it and stand around it, and then there's a timer, so you have to wait there a while. So that kind of can put you kind of vulnerable, because someone could come in and throw a grenade and blow up your whole team, because you're all kind of cluttered while you're trying to extract. So extraction can be kind of dangerous, and that's kind of what they're going for. Yeah, this is the first time we've seen a release date, so that's super exciting because they're coming out this year. I don't know whether this is going to be a game I like a lot. I'm definitely going to try to play it and see where things go. But let's watch the other video now. So that one was called the Marathon Gameplay Overview Trailer, and this one's the Marathon Gameplay Reveal Trailer. So let's check that out. So that says, I didn't read it fast enough. That says, from the creators of Halo and Destiny. Maybe I should have played this one first. I don't know. You see how that shutter's closed right there? They kind of showed the shutters closing. There was actually buttons in the rooms that you could use to open and close the shutters, which was kind of cool.
Death. The end of all things.
Now, one thing you might not know, but part of the first original Marathon game is they had things called pattern buffers where you would save and you would upload your consciousness or something to that effect. So that way when you died, you could go back and load. So they had like some kind of story element that explained how you could come back, you know, and continue fighting. And in Marathon 50D, there's also some kind of like time travel. So that way you could like, basically it's like you go down a path in the story and it doesn't work out and then you come back, right? And I just think that's interesting because, you know, this game also kind of has an explanation of how if you die you're able to come back, right? Like you have some kind of consciousness or something to that effect.
But the dream is not over. My dream, yours.
Artificial intelligences were a big part of this game, so I assume that like blue figure we saw back here somewhere, this one right, yeah, that one right there, is probably some AI. It's a shell. I don't know who it is, but this could be an artificial intelligence. So that's a big part of the original game
My
too.
dream, yours. Now, run.
People made me God. So let's go. Let's see what image that was that they were getting on the screen. Oh wait, I missed it. Yeah, like right there, you can tell like there's, looks like there's like an AI or something here. Like maybe there's an eye and mouth. So like, who is this AI? I don't know, but that's what it looks like. I'm sure with a release date that we're gonna get be able to pre-purchase the game soon is my guess. But anyways, so yeah, like so as I said, the gameplay trailer is great. I think Bungie's on the money making this game because they're not just trying to do something traditional; they're trying to do something new. As much as it pains me, because I want the original Marathon game, right? But anyway, so I'm gonna plan on starting to do some, while I'm doing my Marathon in depth, I think I'm gonna take some breaks and cover some of the lore that's already come out. That way when this game does come out, I can make some lore content for the new game. That will slow down my Marathon in depth videos some, but I think that's probably what most people watching my channel would probably be interested in the most. So we'll see how this game goes if we really enjoy playing it. But go ahead, leave me some comments and I'll give you ask me questions or whatever. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of videos just like this one going to be all over YouTube. But I guess this is just my perspective as someone who's a fan of the original game, that it's probably going to be quite a bit different than a lot of the other stuff you see on YouTube. So thanks everyone for watching. You all have a good one.